Hi, good morning. Thank you for staying with us on Niaga AWANI. I'm Nabila Khalida, and with me right now is Ibrahim Sani. How are you?
Fantastic. We can start off with our first story on the World Congress on Innovation.
All right, the World Congress on Innovation and Technology WCIT 2022 Malaysia, happening in 55 days, has onboarded more than 80 sponsors and supporting partners as announced yesterday at the countdown to WCIT 2022 event. PCOM, the National Tech Association of Malaysia, is organizer of WCIT 2022 Malaysia, with Penang State Government as host and Malaysia Digital Economic Corporation (MDEC) as a strategic enabler.
I think the support that we received in the last 3 years or so organizing this event has been tremendous. Not only from MDEC, I'd say 4 or 5 years working together once we won the bid. And we've been working even with Penang State Government for the last 3.5 years. We started talking to them in 2018. And we not lack of support from the Prime Minister Department. I think Prime Minister himself has committed to attend, deliver the opening speech. So again, we are not short of support from government, from international partners. We just want to take advantage of the next 55 days to create more awareness. By creating more awareness, we hope to bring in more delegates, more potential investors into Malaysia.
So from WCIT, we move now to talk about some elements involving policy. This is because as we transition into endemicity, governments and organizations are strengthening the push for digital resilience. This is according to the IDC. The My Digital Blueprint is set to transform Malaysia into a digital-driven leader within the regional economy. However, to fully realize its digital resilience, Malaysia must address its ongoing cybersecurity challenge, an item that we've been talking about on this station for quite some time now. Because with the growing threat of landscape, the traditional ways of managing cyber threats has to be reassessed. What should the public sector know or appreciate about cybersecurity and its ever-evolving cyber threat landscape? And how can they balance the ease of use of security measures in place? So to answer this question, we have two individuals joining us this morning for this conversation. Datuk Dr. Amiruddin Abdul Wahab, the CEO of Cybersecurity Malaysia, as well as CK Ma, Regional Director of Southeast Asia for Menlo Security. Maybe we can start with Dato. We're looking at some of the initiatives by the government, including the KCOM or CSM. What are they doing to help secure networks, data, and digital infrastructure in the country?
Thank you. We talk about Cybersecurity Malaysia. We are actually the National Technical Specialist Agency under the Ministry of Communications and Multimedia. So we serve the nation, whether from the government sector, private sector, the critical national information infrastructure, even public at large. And we play the role as a facilitator and the platform for local and international partnership. At the same time, Cybersecurity Malaysia also play the role to support the Malaysia cybersecurity strategy vision for secure, trusted, and resilient cyberspace. Malaysia cybersecurity strategy focusing on 5 pillars and 12 strategies. So the 5 pillars related to basically the governance and management of cybersecurity ecosystem, legislative framework, technical capabilities, cybersecurity capabilities, and also awareness, and also international collaboration. So these are some of the initiatives by the government, especially Cybersecurity Malaysia, an agency under KCOM, in supporting the Malaysia cybersecurity strategy, basically to help secure the networks and data and digital infrastructure in the country.
All right, Dato', what are the key challenges faced by the governments in securing their data and organization? Also, especially now that cybersecurity is a top concern as governments push for digital agendas.
Well, when we talk about key challenges, I like to always highlight it from the 3 angles, which is the people, the process, and the technology. The people part is basically about awareness. Sometimes we are the user. We are non-practitioner of IT, but we are user. However, we don't have a basic understanding of the issue of security in the cyberspace. So we need to have strengthened that. Second, in terms of the competent workforce, because we don't have enough people, whereby there is even a study by Global Cybersecurity Ventures stating that about 3.5 million gaps of cybersecurity professionals worldwide. So we need to strengthen this element of people. At the same time, the importance of compliance to the international process and standards. These are some of the areas, and the last one is on the technology component, where because of the technology evolution and convergence, the need to basically adapt to the situation, the changes that is out there, and also the convergence that's happening around the technological space. So these are some of the challenges to ensure the security in an alignment and also can cope with the changes in the technology.
Maybe we can bring in CK back into this conversation. CK, what do you think is the state of the cybersecurity threat landscape and trends specifically for Malaysia?
Sure. Thank you for the question. For sure, I think the cybersecurity landscape will become much more challenging due to the rising sophistication and the advancement in ICT or technology, as well as, of course, the cyber attackers. Just a good reference is the Cyber Incidents Reference Center, Cyber 999 from Cybersecurity Malaysia, found that the usual rampant cyber threats that were reported are fraud, cyber harassment, intrusion,
malicious code, and also content-related. In reference to 2021, fraud and intrusion made up of nearly 85% of the total incidents reported, up from approximately 1% from the previous year. And furthermore, if we were to reference to Interpol Cyber Threat Assessment, Malaysia registered an increase of 18% in financial-related malware and approximately 136,000 ransomware. Having said that, of course, cybersecurity awareness has been increasing in Malaysia. People are much more well-connected. Local businesses are taking more precautions against phishing, ransomware, and malware.
Another question is, what is Menlo Security's role in safeguarding a digital nation? What do you think about that?
Thank you. As a leader in cybersecurity, Menlo Security plays a key role in shaping the nation's cyber landscape and supporting the digital national agenda. We recognize the high independency from both the government and the private sectors in managing cyber risks, and we are committed to work in collaboration with all government sectors, including Cybersecurity Malaysia, to safeguard the country's national agenda. Menlo Security specializes in providing military-grade, 100% internet separation security platform for all web traffic. This is ideal to support our Malaysia's digital agenda, more so with the new norm today resulting from COVID-19, where we are much more remote and a hybrid working culture, of which, of course, Malaysia's mobile penetration is very high, over 90%, with majority of the population using smartphones. Coupled with our internet age, most of us are performing some form of financial transaction through the newest e-gov initiative in Malaysia. Thank you.
Okay, can we bring back Dato'? I want to ask how would working with companies like Menlo assist in the cybersecurity master plan for our government?
Basically, our mission in Cybersecurity Malaysia is to lead the development of safer and resilient cybersecurity ecosystem. So as such, it is important for us to work together with all the various parties, whether they are in public sector, in the private sector, academia, etc. And one of that are obviously Menlo, with their expertise and experience in the field of cybersecurity and in the industry itself. So basically, it is ideal when it comes to supporting our digital economy agenda and also to ensure that it is secure and trusted. In Cybersecurity Malaysia, we have a program called CCP, Cybersecurity Collaboration Program, whereby we partner with the industry and strengthening in terms of the areas of technical collaboration, capacity building cooperation, business cooperation, etc. Basically, working together because we believe that no one entity can handle cybersecurity matters alone. It has to work and together with all the various parties and complement each other. And that's why the role of Menlo as one of our industry players under the CCP is crucial so that we can complement each other's strength and support and cover the gap of whatever weakness we may have in ensuring the cyber safe space safe and resilient.
Maybe we can bring back CK. Do you think that critical strategic thinking and great education is also a success factor, important success factor for organizations to make this work? We've just heard from Datuk just now that we need a lot of stakeholders. Perhaps some improvements in terms of real thinking and strategic thinking is also important. What do you think about this?
Absolutely, 100% agree. We all know that we must get security right 100% of the time, and attackers only need to get it right one time. The problem is that most companies is responding with strategies that focus on detection. In other words, attempting to assess if a network traffic is good or bad. There are two issues with detecting strategies. One, they are fundamentally flawed because they allow the malware to get through. Number two, which is commercially much more focused, they are very expensive, cost inefficient. The costs are enormous when you add up the fees associated with detection tools, the time that the staff need to spend on responding to alerts, as well as lost productivity among the company's employees. So leading companies are taking a much more different approach nowadays. Rather than focusing on detection, they focus on zero trust. In short, trust no one. And by using our patented isolation core technology platform that could implement a zero trust internet separation experience 100% all the time, of which we provide and offer a $1 million malware warranty. Fundamentally, if there's no direct access to the internet, the chances of being compromised are significantly reduced, or if at all not exist. And as a result, they get rid of the cost and the burden of IT staff and safeguard the employees at the same time.
Thank you, CK. Thank you, Dato'. Final question. Do you think that we have the necessary funds to make it work? Maybe, Dato', you can take this question. The allocation from it, from government, from private sector, to make this a real initiative.
Well, obviously, when we talk about allocation of budget, we always hope to have more. But then I think it is important, especially with the country moving to a digital nation, with various initiatives in terms of digital transformation. So cybersecurity must be embedded in any plan, including in any digital transformation initiative at the ministries, government sectors, and even in private sectors. Because it is already part and parcel of digital, environment that we are in. So the most important thing now is ensure that cybersecurity is being embedded and being planned from the beginning rather than as an afterthought. And budget is being allocated sufficiently so that all the necessary measures can be put in place from the angle of people, process, and also technology.
Thank you very much. That was Dato' Dr. Amiruddin Abdul Wahab, the CEO of Cybersecurity Malaysia. Earlier on, you just heard from CK Mah, the Regional Director of Southeast Asia for Managed Security, both of them joining us live via telephone call and Skype on this particular topic. We now move on to some international news, particularly on global stocks. Our next story is on a gauge of global stocks that rose for a fourth straight day on Wednesday, buoyed by optimism over the early stages of the US corporate earnings season, while the dollar edged up ahead of a rate decision by the European Central Bank today. Wall Street stocks were higher, led by gains on the Nasdaq Composite Index, as growth stocks were buoyed by a positive outlook from Netflix, which jumped 7.36%. With 60 companies in the S&P 500 having reported earnings, 78.3% have topped analysts' expectations, according to Refinitiv data. Tracking slightly below the 81% beat rate for the past 4 quarters, but well above the 66% rate since 1994. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 47.79 points, or up 0.15%. The S&P 500 gained 23.21 points, or up 0.59%, and the Nasdaq Composite added 184 points, or up 1.58%.
Oil prices slipped on Wednesday after US government data showed lower gasoline demand during the peak summer driving season, and as interest rate hikes by central banks to fight inflation fears the economy could slow, cutting energy demand. Prices spared losses during the session after TC Energy said the Keystone Pipeline, one of Canada's major oil export arteries, was operating at reduced rates for a third day. Repairs continue on a third-party power facility in South Dakota, prompting concerns about tighter supplies. Brent crude prices for September fell 43 cents to settle at $106.92 a barrel. US West Texas Intermediate WTI crude for August fell $1.96 to settle at $102.26 a barrel. The WTI contract expires on Wednesday. US gasoline inventories rose 3.5 million barrels last week. Government data showed far exceeding analyst forecasts in Reuters poll for a 71,000 barrel rise. Product supplied of gasoline, a proxy for demand, was about 8.4 million barrels per day, or about 7.6% lower than the same time a year ago, the data showed. Americans were shocked in June as palm prices climbed to a record of over $5 per gallon.
So now we join with our partner over at BizTech Asia, Brian Fernandez, as he speaks with Kelvin Wong, market strategist from CMC Markets on BizTech Asian Midday Market Watch. This interview was recorded midday yesterday, where they discussed at length about some of the movements in the market.
Given that scenario, then how is that going to impact this overall currency story because of the differentials in interest rates?
Yes. So let me talk about this story about, because currency, right, there's this currency war narrative. So what is a currency war narrative? Briefly, for the sake of the audience. So before I touch into the charts, the technical chart of the dollar index, let's talk about this currency war first. So currency war, right, is actually where all countries are trying to actually depreciate their currency against the dollar, hoping to get a head start in terms of export growth, especially for countries that are pretty much dependent on export. One could see is in the Asian region, Singapore could be probably one of them. Then you have China and you have Korea. So, but on the other hand, over here, what you're seeing right now in this particular scenario, where we start to see elevated, heightened inflation across the globe. And this one will actually start to lead rise to this one called reverse currency war. So what is reverse currency war? So reverse currency war right now is most countries will actually try their best to actually appreciate their domestic currency value against the dollar. Why? Because it's to actually curb imported inflation, which is going to be a problem since the start of this year. And it starts to actually be more pronounced, especially in Q2, where we start to see, we call it supply side issues start to come out, being driven by the Russia and Ukraine conflict. So right now, if you start to see most developed nation central bank, with the exception of China and Japan, has started to actually up their game in terms of their monetary tightening policy. That means, i.e., we're no longer talking about QE, we're now doing QT, quantitative tightening. That means reversing what I call their bond buying strategy to keep interest rate low. But right now, we are going to start a interest rate hike cycle, and we're going to be on the same path as aggressive as the Fed to maintain this interest rate differential against the US dollar. So hoping that,
because basically this is the problem that a lot of Asian economies are having right now. The fact that they are laggards in terms of the rate hikes against the US Fed. And
Precisely.
Obviously the fear is that their currencies will then, you'll see capital flight out of their currencies and their economies.
Yes, precisely. So right now we got to actually right now over here is that we need to have a balance between these two, because we definitely don't want to have a capital flight out of it. But for sure, right now with this reverse currency war narratives start to gain traction since late last week, and especially right now we start to see one of the laggards, which is the Developed Nation Bank, which is ECB, started to be more aggressive in their interest rate hike. Bear in mind, their deposit rate is still negative at 50%. So even though if you do 25 basis point hike for tomorrow, it's still negative 25. But right now, if they do 50 basis point hike, actually they tell the market, oh yes, hey, we are now getting back to normalcy pretty soon. And that could actually explain right now to talk about the technicals of this dollar index chart like I shared with you all. So this is a monthly chart, so it's a very long-term picture chart of the dollar index. So this dollar index comprises of the major currency. So the biggest weightage, close to 55% or 57%, they're about heavily weighted to the euro currency. So the euro movement actually plays a big part in this dollar index. So we could see, right, this dollar index has been trading in a major circular uptrend since March 2008. So that was actually the great financial crisis low. And especially since January 2021, we're talking about a year ago. Yeah, about a year ago, it has been in this very steep uptrend. And this steep uptrend is kind of overstretched, hitting a key resistance level at already hit 109.30, which is recently last week it printed a high of 109.29, right exactly at this resistance level of 109.30. And with the RSI, money RSI coming very close to an extreme overbought level, so we could see that this strong rally is pretty similar to the rally that was seen from May 2014 to January 2017. Then thereafter, it started to do a bit of consolidation. So potentially, right, if history repeats itself based on the technical analysis chart, we could start to see a bit of consolidation right below this 109.30 level, right, given that technicals are kind of overbought, pointing to a bit of exhaustion in this steep uptrend. So we'll be watching this 103.20 trigger level. So if we have a kind of a weekly close below 103.20, we could start to see this 1 to 3 months of pullback towards 99.25 in the first step. So that actually tell us that, hey, this dollar strength that we see since the start of this year or last year, so this year being more pronounced due to a hawkish Fed policy, will start to do a bit of mean reversion to the downside, which is i.e. it could potentially translate to what I call at least a relief rebound in global equities, given that the dollar strength and equity actually move in a different opposite direction. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have much time left. I just want to touch base a little bit on the KLCI. The local bourses, of course, saw some positive gains very recently. The profit-taking moment was taking place last week. And of course, this week, yesterday in particular, it was trading upwards. So as at 9:58 a.m. on 21st of July, we're looking at the KLCI doing quite okay, I suppose, when it comes to the KLCI movement. Some updates on the construction side, on the construction sector. The construction sector is facing several headwinds in the second half of this year. The recent move by the government to withhold new mega projects is an overhang risk, although the sector did see some valuation of PB or price to book value a little bit appealing. The KLCI is up 4 points to 1,441 points, to 0.34% up. We're also looking at 312 counters in the green, while 210 counters in the red. Very soft trading this morning at about 600 million shares done, with about 200 million ringgit being traded. Very, very soft actually, if you think about it. Also, some other news. I mean, we can look into some corporates. We're looking at Malaysia Airports Holdings Berhad, or MAHB. CGS-CIMB reiterated a whole position on them. This is because the discounted cash flow based on target price of 6.76 ringgit as they cut their Malaysian traffic forecast for the second half of this year. So those are the kind of things that are currently happening. Nabila, second day on air, how are you feeling?
Less nervous, more confident.
Yeah.
I hope for better days ahead.
Better days ahead indeed. So continue to stay with us. You can download our app or the Astro AWANI app wherever you get the application. You can also go to astroawani.com to keep yourself abreast with the latest news. For now, that's it. My name is Ibrahim Sani.
And I'm Nabila Khaida. Thank you so much for watching.